Evening to everyone, and welcome to the fourth session of Peeking Outside the Bubble. This is a set of conversations where we talk to people who have stepped outside academia. And there is a need to have these conversations because everyone you see on screen started with research 15 years ago and have made career choices. These could be very valuable to you in some time. So it's important to be part of these conversations and just listen in to what the practicalities were and how this active choice of leaving academia was made. And as far as I can tell from all of these people who we've talked to so far, they're very happy where they are. So I think this will be very valuable to be part of this conversation. So with that, I'd like to thank NCBS and INSTEM for letting this happen, for allowing for students to actually peek outside this bubble. The communications office is always helpful with this endeavor. And CCMB for liaising with us on this. And you guys for being part of this discussion. Please do spread the word when you can. And with that, let me welcome my friends, my guests today. We have with us Priyankana, we have Rohan and Ganesh. So we'll start with Priyankana. Could you tell us, could you introduce yourself and tell us what you do right now?
So thank you, Dhananjay, for reaching out and inviting me today. I'm Dr. Priyankana Mukherjee, and I'm extremely happy to connect back to the campus where I spent almost 10 years, initially as a student and then as an employee. So I did my PhD in Vijay's lab. And after finishing my PhD and a short postdoc, bridging postdoc, I joined Research Development Office as a development officer, where I worked for 3 years. And then I moved to IKP Knowledge Park, which is a science park and a startup incubator, where I work as a senior manager. So we are focused on medtech, biotech, agri-tech, clean tech startups. We provide facilities, R&D facilities to these startups and also help them get funding. We manage several funding awards for the startups and in collaboration with BIRAC. So I'm involved in managing the bio incubator, which I have actually set up at IKP Eden. And also I manage one of the funding programs. It's called the Grand Challenges Exploration India, where we fund startups. We give 50 lakhs to early stage ideas. And my job is involved in managing those awards. So that's what I do.
Right, thanks. Rohan, could you tell us a little about yourself and more specifically what your role is and in what organization right now?
Yes. So first of all, thanks a lot, Dhananjay, for this opportunity. It's always good to connect to grad students, JRFs, postdocs, and give them a overview about what is happening beyond the academic walls. I started off with a PhD in molecular biology from Astra at New Bombay, where I met Dhananjay. So we go a long way back. From then on, I came to NCBS as a postdoc. But one thing was very clear to me that I wanted to get into the industry right during my PhD days. And I started off a small company called Viravex Labs after my postdoc, which ran for 4 years. There we were making viral vectors for academic labs, running small projects involving viral vectors. At a 4-year time point when we felt that we needed to move on, I moved over to Immuneel Therapeutics. Now, Immuneel Therapeutics is a fairly new company, just about a year and a half old. And I had the research and development at Immuneel. As of now, Immuneel is focusing on getting CAR T cell therapy for treating cancers to India. This is cell therapy which was approved in the US in 2019, but it's quite expensive. So one of our main targets is to get it affordable and make it accessible to the Indian population. We are an Indian company for India, and our focus is India. So I head the research and development here, and we'll carry on and happy to answer any questions that come along. Thank you.
So Ganesh, so could you tell us what you're doing right now, what your exact role is?
Sure. Thanks, Dhananjay. Just like Priyankana and Rohan, big thanks for organizing this and getting us together. I think it's always great to connect back with the community we were once part of and sort of give back in whatever little way we can. So about myself, actually, just like Rohan, I met Dhananjay when we did our PhD together. This was in the US. And I did finished up, and then I was looking for something new. So just to give a bit more context, I had worked on protein structure, basically a PhD in biophysics, but I wanted to do something different. And that's when an opportunity came to do a postdoc in NCBS and UK. So it was a joint collaborative project funded by a campus fellowship. So that was in Sunil Lakshman's lab in cell metabolism, which was very different from what I was doing, but I decided to take that on and it was fun. I did that for 3 years. But at the same time, I started realizing, maybe partly due to lack of papers, that don't see much of a future in academia. But at the same time, I should say, I also felt the gnawing need to do something closer to patients, which is when I started researching options in R&D in industry. So that's how I started talking to people, and I ended up interviewing at AstraZeneca 2 years ago. And now I work as a senior scientist in the basic science division. So doing very basic clinical research, basic research, nothing related to the clinic, in early drug development and discovery phase.
Right. So, so clearly, if I can see that how the entire trajectory went, but I think it would be very interesting to note where this started. So for example, we'll go back, the other way around right now. Ganesh, what was the question you were addressing when you started your research? Say, if this was PhD, what was the question, the GPCR thing?
So for me, I remember distinctly, it was my third year of college when we had a cell biology course, and pretty much every other 2 classes together was one chapter in Albert's molecular biology of the cell that really caught my interest in biology and the complexity and how much we don't know about it. So that led me to my PhD, where I was very interested in understanding just how proteins work and how they control how cells behave and respond to environment. So that's where I ended up in a lab after 3 rotations working on G protein signaling from a sort of biochemical structural angle. So that's the beginning of my research journey.
So was that in cell lines or was that in yeast?
So in this case, neither. It was in test tubes. So we were working with purified proteins, so overexpression systems, and then purifying. So a lot of chromatography, biochemistry, enzymology, in vitro assays. The way I think of in vitro, I know a lot of other cell lines is in vitro, but I disagree. But that's a different topic.
Yeah. So, okay, all right. And so, Rohan, what were the first sort of questions that you had addressed when you started research? So it was a virology lab, but what sort of, were you looking at a specific virus, and what kind of questions were they?
So one thing that drove me to the lab where I got my PhD was a translational research, and that is also the reason why I am what I'm doing today. Of the many labs in ACTREC, possibly the virology department that was pretty much a single lab, focused a lot on translational research. And while I was fascinated by the biology of HIV, one thing that the lab was doing was using this virus to make a gene delivery system, which are popularly called as the lentiviral vectors now. And that is what drove me to that particular lab, where unlike a lot of labs where they are toying around a hypothesis, we had a focus to develop a viral vector. And that wasn't the only thing which was in the lab. Our lab had developed a Western blot kit, which was eventually tech transferred outside. We were developing a virus-like particle which could potentially be a vaccine for HPV, also a diagnostic ELISA for HPV. So these couple of projects which were happening in the lab was what attracted me to it, and that is where I fit in. Where of the bunch of things that we unlike like how Ganesh said he did a couple of rotations, I did a rotation in the lab playing with different projects to come down to the part where the job was to develop a viral vector and prove its efficacy. And that's how my finally work convoluted down to a job of making a nice viral vector which would work for gene delivery. And I think I take a lot of pride in that, because something which I always keep on saying that, my thesis, the first thing which was written in my thesis, the first paragraph, it says, gene therapy is the future of medicine, or it's future medicine. And it's the future is today, and I'm still in it, and I'm still doing that. That is what is something which is really exciting to me. That what was future, I'm still doing that. I'm still making lentiviral vectors, I'm making CAR T cells, but now for the patient. So that's the excitement which has driven me to what I am doing today. Thank you.
Right. And then you also briefly worked in a neurobiology lab.
Yes. Yes.
What sort of questions were you addressing there?
Yes. So that was a very different approach. That when I wrapped up my PhD, I happened to visit NCBS, and I was fascinated by the behavioral biology done in my postdoc lab. While one of the things that I got to the table for the particular lab was my capacity to make these viral vectors, which can make transgenic mice, or you can knock out and knock in things. That was one part which I got to the table. But what I tried to understand there was how does a particular sort of the Wnt signaling pathway, for example, how does it feature in the chronic stress model, which is which was basically working on two regions in the brain, and how does it affect how chronic stress plays a role on the signaling pathway. So that was a brief 3-year stint. And that is what I got in, and I learned a lot about neurobiology there. That's one place which I enjoyed changing gears for a while.
Yeah. Priyankana, you're a fellow Drosophilist. What sort of questions did you start off with when you were doing your research?
So as you know, Vijay's lab is focused on muscle biology. So we were fascinated about the multinucleation of muscle fiber, how fusion happens, and how a single cell becomes multinucleated in case of muscles. So I started looking at various actin modulators, proteins involved in branched actin formation. And we had a very nice collaboration with Benny Shiloh's lab, and they were very kind to share reagents with us. And we started testing them, and we saw phenotypes where you mutate certain genes and you see a lack of fusion. And then we studied what exactly is happening at the site of fusion. So we found that there is a role for all these actin modulators required for specifically for branched actin networks for fusion pore formation. So fusion pores were completely blocked in absence of all these actin modulators. And I loved the research I used to do. I mean, it was exciting. Every day you go to the lab and you feel that, okay, today what's new? What will I find about this particular molecule? What genetic permutations, combination you will do. And then towards the end of my PhD, I also got involved in doing live imaging. So looking at the cellular behavior was extremely exciting, and I loved the work I did during
To me, it's your paper is amazing. We, like when we've done sort of, in the lab when we've looked at those papers, it's an outstanding paper, and clearly you enjoyed it very, very much. So now I think this very quickly segues into doing something that you like very much, and then leaving it behind. How does that happen? What sort of thoughts and factors went into that sort of decision?
So actually, what I feel about myself is that I'm very adaptable and I get passionate about things. It's not the opposite. So when I'm involved in research, I was completely passionate about that. But after my PhD, I had a child, and I thought that I should take a break and try to do something else, because going abroad for a postdoc was not feasible at that time. So I took it like an experiment that we do. I just thought I'll do an internship at the research development office. And instead of researching on proteins and molecules, I started researching on people with high net worth, because I was working as a development officer. So I used to research on people, find out how much money they have, how can we get them interested to fund our campus. And that became my passion. I just got so involved reading about how people make donations and what they look, and how we should make our proposals interesting for them. And while working there at RDO, I just got so involved and got so interested, and we could raise a significant amount of fund. We could make the Infosys travel about for the students. So that was very satisfying, and that sort of became my passion. And then when I moved to IKP, again, working with startups was a different experience altogether. Looking at their products coming out in the market is so exciting, and we are able to support them through our funding, through our facilities, and we are part of their journey. That's very satisfying for me. So my passion keep on changing, and I'm highly adaptable, I think, to new things in variety of things.
Excellent. So if I'm summarizing this correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong. You like doing what you're doing, and you get good at it, whatever you're doing. The decision to leave research was somewhat practical, in the sense that there were other considerations in life, like family, that you paid attention to, and you thought that it would be a short foray outside academia, which is actually something that one of our previous speakers, panelists, had also said. But it turned out to be perfectly satisfying, and you never looked back, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so, Rohan, so you told us about the fact that you made vectors and you really enjoyed it, and now, but there's something that, at least for a PhD student or a postdoc, even to this day, there is an apprehension of stepping outside academia, because we don't know so much about it. And for you were one of those bold people who went on and started their own company, where the risks are totally different from what they are in academia. How did you make that choice, though, to start your own company and push it forward?
The possibly Priyanka can chime in as well at this point, right? So when there's thought of during the process of my PhD, one of the things that we used to do was collaborate with a lot of labs to help them with the viral vectors, which is a slightly now it's become quite easy comparatively. Earlier it was a little difficult, about 10 years back, right? And people used to collaborate with us for the viral vectors. We used to happily provide them with those, and we used to get publications. And when I was wrapping up my postdoc, I realized that the need still stood true, because I could see the same people still seeking out to make viral vectors. And well, I thought, if it's publications, why not money? Why not monetize the skill set that I had over the period of 5 years? And that is what pushed us to think about, there are not many companies offering this in India. Let's think about doing it. And we tried. We did succeed. I mean, uh, we had running projects right till the day we closed down. And that was the primary thought process, that if you keep a watch on what is happening around you, there is a place to seek commercialize things that you have done in your own lab a lot of times. It's just that the thought has to be seeded, as I earlier mentioned, because mine was a translational lab and we had tech transferred stuff outside. We had that we had that thought process already in the mind, and that is what helped me uh, get into starting a small company. Yes, obviously it wasn't easy. Looking back, definitely I can say that it wasn't easy. Uh, and the what I would always suggest is that look around, and keep a watch, keep your eyes open. There are small techniques that you've developed in the lab, small things that you develop in the lab, and you can realize that, well, you know what, I can file a patent with this and try to commercialize it. You need not commercialize it yourself, right? Look at the way the COVID-19 vaccines have been developed. They have been developed in different labs across the globe and have been licensed out by larger companies to manufacture them. So it's not that you always have to do everything. Keep a watch, and that helped me start off a small company and run it for 4 years.
So basically, you clearly saw a niche for your skill set.
Yeah, yeah.
And that sort of formed the bridge between academia and outside. Because
Yes.
it's needed, there's money in it, and it's worth the risk.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Let's Ganesh, you and I have been in the same areas for 10 years now. So
More than 10 now.
Yeah. I mean, no, now you're okay. You're amazed now. But the question was, so I mean, you and I faced very similar situations, actually, I think, and I, to this day, I think you made that brave choice to step out. What were the practical considerations that came to mind? You mentioned the publications, and then impact factor that the selection committees see, and things of that sort. But were there other factors that you considered while choosing to step out?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely, Dhananjay. Like I mentioned, I really wanted to be closer to the patient. What I mean is, I could see how work that I was doing in academia was setting the stage to help someone with some disease, or many people with that disease, over some time frame. But I was also getting a little impatient with the sort of timeline. So I would say that was definitely one main consideration in wanting to step outside and start looking. But the other main consideration was, I think, sort of for on track with what Rohan was saying, keeping an eye out, just talking around, looking what's happening. I did that actively pretty much from the fourth or fifth year of my PhD, attending whatever events I could, where I could meet people from industry or just anyone really, just to see what is happening outside, what kind of trends are there, what kind of companies, what kind of ideas, and everything. And so through that, I started to realize what is possible in academia to some extent, and what is not necessarily always possible. On the flip side, what is possible in industry or outside academia when you have private funding, which is probably not possible always in academia. So I think that opened me to a world of ideas and opportunities, which I found very exciting. There were things that I talked to people in various companies and organizations, from nonprofits to biotechs to big pharma, who were doing projects, tackling questions in a way using technologies and also applying different people's skill set together, which I did not see an opportunity for in academia. So while academia, I still miss academia. There is no doubt about it. There are things that I know I can do only in academia, and my company will never let me do, even if I want to do them. But at the same time, what I do today in a industry, I don't think I was able to do there. And so that's one of the other main factors that helped me decide to jump out and explore.
Yeah, and I mean, like Priyankana mentioned that, some of a portion of her decision was also based on family. Did you have something of that sort?
Yes, so definitely. So one of the main reasons actually I left the US after my PhD, apart from just generally being done with the US, was my wife at the time, sorry, girlfriend at the time, now wife. Uh, she was already in a very good job in UK. So I had actually started looking for postdoc roles and industry roles in UK close to the finish of my PhD. And that's when this opportunity came, the one I mentioned, where I worked in both NCBS and in Cambridge. And I picked this above other opportunities I had because also long term I wanted to come back to India, and I still definitely do. So I'm not a Firang. I am going to come back. So I
Oh,
wanted
both
to
of
see
you.
what.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I wanted to see what was happening in India on the ground, because there's one thing to hear about it, read about it, but there's another thing to actually be there and see. So that's how that choice was made. The subsequent choice again sort of was driven by that, because my wife was again still in UK in a very good job, and like I said, I started exploring opportunities outside of academia through my postdoc, and I just saw that there were more options at the moment in UK. I did see a lot of avenues in India, but I thought that's probably not where I want to be right now. Definitely in the future, in a couple of years. So that's how I also made the choice to apply to companies in UK.
So I think all of you have actually brought up this very pertinent point that speaks to a sort of thought that students have, that life outside academia is not intellectually stimulating. I don't think any of you would agree with that statement, based on your experience. Is that right? Um,
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
If you think about it, it is um, at times different. I won't say better. It's differently stimulating because, to a certain extent, the focus and the goals in a company are a little different than an academic lab where publications and showcasing your research takes a front seat. In the companies, it's delivering a product, a service, the ties that Priyanka makes between the investors and the startups, patients. These are the driving force. So it's the same thing. It just oriented in a different manner. Look at it like a prong and the multiple parts to it. So it's absolutely stimulating. It's a choice that which of these paths that you want to take um, is what would decide. But I would absolutely encourage people to think about that. Uh, the science stays, the pursuit for quality science stays. It's the it's where the science goes is what makes a slight difference in being in academia and being outside the academia.
right. So, Priyankana, were you going to say something?
I would like to share my experience. So for me, actually, when I was doing my research, I was of course happy and passionate, but it was a very tunneled vision just to look at my project, what I'm doing, my protein. But now when I'm managing one grant where we receive around 1,000 applications, I know actually what kind of science is happening across the country. I have developed that kind of understanding, and that's very intellectually stimulating because I'm reading new proposals, I'm reading new ideas. Then we fund startups and we monitor the progress of the startups, and we know what challenges they're facing, what kind of science they're doing. So I understand medtech, I understand artificial intelligence, I understand earlier it was just basic cell biology or various other genetics, but now it has actually expanded my understanding and knowledge completely, and I know what's happening, what kind of research is happening where. So it's
Right.
very intellectually stimulating.
So I'm going to say that it looks like all of you are very happy where you are, right? Yes?
I agree. And I was just going to add, that doesn't mean I will be happy here in 2 years.
Okay.
I'm always, sorry?
Like Priyankana that way, passion shift.
Exactly. So yeah, Priyankana, you're going to say something?
I just wanted to share one slide that I made. Let me just try regarding the happiness quotient of the current job. Can you see my screen?
Yes, now we can.
Yeah. So as I said, my passion changes. So this is when we signed, when I was at RDO, and we signed our contract with Biocon. This is with Infosys Foundation. This is the lab I have set up at IKP. These are the students I have trained, and these are some of the pictures of the products of startups we are supporting. So this is actually this defines happiness. This slide defines my happiness of my career choice. Yeah, just wanted to share this.
That's excellent. That's really nice. So Ganesh, were you saying something?
Yeah, so I mean, I absolutely agree with Priyankana that our passions, our interests change with time. I mean, we are human beings after all, we are not robots. So our opinions, our thoughts, everything evolves with time. I'm sure anyone listening into this call, if you think back when you were a 5-year-old, the question, what do you want to be when you are grown up? The answer would be different compared to 6 months later, 3 years later to today. So the answer should be different, not should be, but it's not surprising if it would be different in 2 years. So what I mean to say, get at, is that I'm very happy right now, but I'm also always continuously looking, talking to people, understanding what other opportunities are there. And some of those opportunities are in academia. I definitely see that. And so that is also an option in the future. Maybe not as a PI. I think some of the previous speakers in the series have showed us other roles that you can do in academia. It could be director of a core lab and things like that, or providing a service. Or so essentially options are unlimited, and it is up to how much you limit yourself or how much you want to expose yourself that you set up your future. It's all in your own hands completely.
Right. And that segues very well into the next question. What options do you know of that students can apply to? Also, if you could say if somebody had to apply for your job, what should the prep be like? What should the CV convey? And what other options can you think of, or resources that people can apply to?
You want me to go first, or?
Yeah, please, Ganesh. Ganesh, yeah.
So I think it's obvious and everyone knows this, that when you want to apply to a job in a company outside of India, visa is a big constraint. I will not lie, it is not. But at the same time, it doesn't mean it's unsurmountable. So definitely keep that in mind, keep that reality check, especially if you're considering an option in a place outside India. That said, I think what is important is to showcase through your CV and through cover letter or other application material that you have thought about the job and how you've customized and told the person who's going to read the CV how you are the person for the job.
Right.
It shouldn't be that the CV shouldn't be a laundry list of things you can do, and then I, as the job person evaluating your CV, has to find out if Western blotting is one of 10 approaches you can do. If the job I'm advertising says Western blotting is needed, then just tell me you can do Western. I don't care if you do PCR.
Okay.
That's sort of how at least automated algorithms that are the first filter step in most job applications nowadays work. They
Right.
look for those keywords. So definitely take the time to understand the job. And I can talk a little more if we have time about this, but try to network, reach out to people who you think might know more about the job, either people who worked at the company are working, or someone who knows someone at the company, or in the general broad area, to understand what it is that people in that kind of a role look for.
Right.
That's how I would say.
Right.
In terms of specific opportunities, I was just going to say, right now, AstraZeneca itself does not have anything in India. I mean, we have IT, we have our global IT department in India. All support comes from there, but we also have a clinical trials monitoring, which is actually based out of Bangalore. I think that's also our biggest office for that division. And so those are the options in India, and outside we have R&D and all sorts of sites everywhere.
Right. Right. Thanks, Ganesh. So, Rohan, you are in a position to tell us well about positions, opportunities in your field, in your company. So, could you tell us a little more about the opportunities that you know of that, say, the target audience of this, discussion can apply to?
So while I will speak for Immuneel, but we are also quite well aware about what happens in Biocon and Syngene, which are also uh, two major organizations in Bangalore, particularly. Uh, and what happens is exactly what Ganesh says, that jobs and interviews are pretty much set up purely on basis of your network. Now, what happens is the way HR works is slightly different. Okay, when your CV reaches the HR table, they look for keywords. If they don't find it there, at times your CV goes at the backside, or in the drawers below, or possibly even discarded. So it's really important that one, showcase your skill set as he mentioned in your CV very properly. Sharpen your skill set and align. One thing that I always have observed over a period of time is that a lot of grad students say that, what, I'm good at this, um, and I want to get a job. It doesn't always work in that line. Okay, you have to certain, if you have to get into, if there are restrictions that you have. For example, I'll tell you how it makes a difference. As a postdoc, when I was doing neurobiology, I realized that there's not much I could have done in neurobiology in India. There were not companies who were working in the neuro space, definitely not behavior and that kind of stuff. So fortunately, I had a skill set from my PhD which I could fall back on. Okay, and that helped. So I would say that while you're in this current position, whichever you are in, as a grad student, a postdoc, or a JRF, hone your skill set, align them with what the companies are looking for. And how do you know what the companies are looking for? Look at the job postings on LinkedIn, look at what they are asking for, look at and again, network, ask people, and that will get you ready for uh, the companies. In terms of jobs currently available, we are always looking out for people with strong immunology and molecular biology skills. If you are one of them, uh, please send in your CV. I definitely respond to every single email that pops in my inbox in a matter of 48 hours. I may not be able to say that there are jobs that are always open, but a good CV is definitely considered. I can help you connect with people in Biocon, in Syngene, in Reddy's, because these are all people. This is a network that I have built over the last years, and I can do my best. And there are a lot of startups that a person like Priyanka can definitely help you. I do have a few contacts that I can help you. So, yep, that is how it is.
That's really valuable because, I'm guessing young students will take a while to build that sort of network. And so having the alumni step in and help, actually help direct at least the search for employment is very, very valuable. Thanks, Rohan. So Priyanka, now could you tell us about opportunities that you know of that the audience of this show might look up?
Yeah, so when I joined RDO, when I shifted to a non-academic career, I was also very skeptical about what will be the possibility. But when I started, after 3 years, when I started looking out, actually I had 3 offer letters in my hand. And that gave me sort of a reassurance that this is a blooming field. And I think what I see now is clusters, bioclusters are coming up, more innovation is happening. People need scientifically trained people to manage those facilities, build those facilities. In fact, in the budget, there was announcement of building clusters, research innovation centers across India. There is a plan to expand innovation in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So we need good trained managers, and PhD trains you that. I mean, I don't think once you manage your project, once you learn all the techniques and you know how to manage it, I think it trains you so well to deal with any other scientific, uh, position. I mean, work or position. So I think it's a complete training and innovation space. I mean, I would encourage people to actually start thinking of starting their own ventures. We have the best facility at NCBS. And I meet many startups and they say that, oh, we don't get access to all this good equipment. And we have students who are sitting, with in the labs with all these high-end equipment, facilities, ideas. So I would encourage people to, move forward. There will be a lot of funding opportunities, lot of support for startups. Why not start your own enterprise? Just find a problem. We have seen a lot of invention. Invention is when you invent something, discover something. But let's move and make it innovation, which can be utilized by someone. It should have a commercial potential, and I mean, anyone can do it. Why not now? I think it's the right environment. We should not depend on small things. For example, I remember we funded one of the diagnostic companies who was making a diagnostic kit for COVID. And their challenge was that all the solutions, everything comes from China. So, why can't we do it? These are so many problems or so many things that we can contribute. We are just sitting over it. So I think people should now start taking steps, and government is supportive. You just need the right platform, and there are a lot of possibility in innovation ecosystem and also innovation management per se.
So I think you and Rohan would agree on the fact that it's critical to look for a niche, to identify a need, a requirement that you can actually fill in.
Yes.
Now, if somebody has an idea, say a postdoc or a PhD student, we have a couple who've actually started working with Entrepreneur First from NCBS campus. So I'm just wondering if they want to speak to you, how difficult is it to get to speak to you in this regard about feasibility?
Not at all. I mean, we are here to facilitate that innovation, and we want NCBS in STEM to be a major contributor to the ecosystem. So we will be more than happy to support in any way we can.
So all of you can be looked up on LinkedIn, and you're okay with people contacting you with specific questions.
Certainly.
Exactly. I think that's a very good point, Dhananjay, that you say. I've attended a couple of these sort of online meetings or seminars, and then there are people who send in requests afterwards on LinkedIn or other fora. But I think, as Dhananjay mentioned, it's very helpful if you tell us why you're connecting with me. It could be as simple as you want a job, but then that at least gets the conversation started rather than just saying, I want to be on your network. What does that even mean? If I've never talked to you before, that almost is like going on a train in India and talking to a stranger and saying, hi, you're my friend. You need to make that connect and make an effort to make the conversation.
Drop a note. It always helps. And LinkedIn gives you that feature, so please utilize it.
Right. So, and I think that brings us to the end of our conversation. And I really am thankful to all of you. In the next 3 minutes, do you have any pearls of wisdom to impart to anyone in the audience?
I always say one thing: network, network, network. And I cannot, impress on that part anymore. Please use your uh, time. Set out a little bit of time in a week or a day if you're seeking jobs in India or anywhere across the globe. Networking is extremely important. A thing like LinkedIn is really helpful. The premium feature is actually helpful, and if you're actively looking for jobs, which I did, I'm going to be upfront about it. I actually tried the LinkedIn Premium and even paid for the premium service for a while because it gave me access to emails and in mails or LinkedIn mails of certain people whom I wanted to connect to directly. And trust me, this networking is something which is the only gold standard of getting a good job. You may get a job, but getting a good job, if you have it, it you will reach the right place. And I would, as of today, every single person that I've hired in my team, we have 4 people as of now, is hired purely because of network. Not a single CV has come through HR. People have reached us out from LinkedIn or even social media, and like Facebook. So there, on Facebook, there's a group called STEM Peers. I'm active on it. I seek. We look for jobs, and every single. I think 80% of Immuneel is hired on purely on network basis and not by HR. And which I proud. I mean, I respect our HR, and they do a fantastic job. But it is you who exactly know what kind of a job, what kind of a person I want to hire. It's a scientist talking to a scientist. Imagine a scientist talking to an HR, and the combination is a little weird. So network is something which I would really recommend.
Right.
And just to add on to that point from Rohan, I just want to say networking is often seen as a hard thing to do because no one tells you how to do it. It's just a buzzword. At the end of the day, it's just talking to people. It's just talking to the people you already know. And I actually remember this very interesting exercise we did in PhD, I think, or sometime in postdoc, I can't remember. It was similar career seminar or something. There are about 10 of us from quite a varied discipline. And all they said was, write down names of 3 people who you know who are not in academia. And then at the end of it, they collated the 30, and you could see the wide breadth of people that in that room you had the network to. It's as simple as that. It's just about talking to the people you already know and talking about who they know. And a lot of times these comes out unintentionally. Just, yeah, that's what I would say. It's not hard. You don't need to go to conferences and talk to people. Just use the tools that are already available: LinkedIn, email, phone, message, whatever.
Yeah. Priyankana, would you have a pearl of wisdom?
So I would say, I think people should be very open-minded. They should take challenges as they come. And networking, of course, is important, but also try to make yourself useful for the other person. That makes the connection more, I think, strong. So do pro bono activities. if you find any startup working on interesting field, ask them, can I contribute? Can I work with you? Can I help you with certain techniques? So, this kind of attitude will help you build a good network rather than just building a network of people who you are connected, but they don't know you, who you are, right? So if you think that, how can I be useful to someone? It could be a simple thing. It may not be, you know, doing something great for them, but maybe helping them with grant writing. I mean, we learn all these things during our PhD. Why not start helping people? And you will see that you will find what interests you, and you will build the right connections. So that would be my pearl of wisdom for.
Right. So with that, to draw this to a close, and just to summarize, so Priyankana, Rohan, and Ganesh started working with flies, HIV, and proteins in a test tube, and what they're doing right now is maybe tangentially related to it. The science doesn't change. The analytical skills that you gain during a PhD don't change. It's where and how you implement them, and you have to be sort of dynamic on your feet about seeking opportunities that land you in a satisfactory place. And if you want to get there right now, or in fact, I think even in academia, network, reach out, learn how to do it right, and look out for opportunities. With that, thank you so much, Priyankana. Thank you so much, Rohan, and thanks a bunch, Ganesh, for being part of this discussion, which is speaking outside the bubble. So over here, no, here. So this is a list of professions that people have actually participated in. All of these with PhDs doing really wonderful and awesome things. And let's see, this one, no, this one. So this is each spot on this bubble is where one person left the bubble. So there are places to go beyond this bubble, and here are excellent examples of this. Thank you, InSTEM and NCPS, for letting us have this conversation with students, postdocs everywhere. Thank you again to the Comms Office for helping us out with this, for making this happen. And finally, the CCMB for liaising with this, and all the participants who actually have participated. If you have any questions, you can tweet at us at Bubble Peaking, or email us at peakingoutsidethebubble@gmail.com. We are, or hashtag Peaking Outside the Bubble will do as well on Twitter. And we look forward to, any questions you may have, and would hope to, provide answers. With that, thanks again very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, and best wishes to everyone.
It's a pleasure meeting you all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you again. This was really, really fun.
Thank you all. This talk has been recorded and will be on YouTube till YouTube is there. Thank you so much. And Rohan, thanks for the LinkedIn tip. I sent you a LinkedIn request right after you said leave a note, which I didn't, but I have learned my lesson. So the rest of you will be sending notes. It was very informative.